couldn't get a kick away. Carlton surging here, playing like a rugby league team. Men's kicking to the centre. Here's a chance. If it sits, he'll kick it. Christou from 45. Let's fly. It's home. It's a goal.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome again to Back to the Bench TV. What a treat we got here today, and that is former AFL star, premiership player, All-Australian, and just an all-round great, genuine bloke, and that is Ange Christou. How are you, Ange? Thanks so much for joining the show, mate.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, Ange, thanks for coming
just
on,
in case
mate.
I did. Sorry, just in case I didn't know it was me, so I just thought I'd just show my face.
Yeah,
I'm just doing the right thing, guys. I'm just following
Representative,
protocol. I'm following
All good, mate.
ScoMo.
That's it.
Go
Thanks
for
for
it.
having us. Thanks for being on the show, mate. We really appreciate you taking the time. So yeah, for the viewers to get to know a bit about you and what you're doing now. What have you been up to for the past 20 odd years after your professional AFL career as a footballer?
That's a
been
very
happening?
broad question. I hope you have like a couple of hours.
Oh, let's narrow it down. What are you doing? What's your occupation at the moment? What's
Okay,
happening
well,
now?
I'll go back to it because as soon as post my career, which was
Yeah.
02, I finished in 02. I went and lived in Greece for 5 years.
Oh wow.
Had a fantastic time, worked at the Olympics. Then I bought into a fantastic establishment. It was a Greek restaurant. Then I came back into Australia 5 years later, about in 07. I hooked up with Kuta. We opened up a souvlaki hut store for about 3.5 years. Then I had another, let's say, 10-year stint of just relaxing and enjoying life and travelling.
So you
And
should.
now, fast forward to 19 years later, which was last year, I bought, I've formed a Greek fish and chippery establishment.
Oh, wow. And what's that called?
It's called the North Fish and Chippery in Northcote, in the
There
Northcote
you
Park
go,
at the
nice.
back there, yeah. Opposite
Check it out, guys.
Nations Park, yeah, it's fantastic.
Check them out, guys, in Northcote, Fish and Chippery. Go down there for a lovely feed. But we will
Yeah.
talk about a bit of your Greek heritage, Ange. So obviously
Yes.
you and Kuta were teammates for a long time, both Greek players at the Carlton Footy Club. Now, I want to ask you, how did both you and Kuta, or more specifically you, how did you get into like footy rather than soccer, for example? How did you grow up loving footy and driving passion for that?
Okay, so as a 10-year-old, back in 1982, I loved my football and I was an avid Collingwood fan. More so,
Yeah.
I was pretty much in love with Peter Dacos. I don't know if you know Peter Dacos.
Yeah, we know
Of Peter
Peter
Dacos,
Dacos,
you
yeah.
probably know his son.
Yeah.
He's following suit, which is great for footy and for the legacy. So as a kid, I used to, have aspirations to becoming a footballer. Never thought I would make it.
Yeah.
So I started as an under 10 up until I was 13. And then my mother and father feared for my life and my limbs. So they basically said, that's it. No more footy. You're playing anything else but footy
Really?
because it's dangerous. So yes, I took up basketball for 4 or 5 years, played for a club, Collingwood All-Stars. But on the side, I was playing school footy, which my parents didn't, they were oblivious to that. And an opportunity arose when I was playing under 17s for a team called the Carlton Junior Football Club, which was not affiliated with the footy club, with Carlton.
Yeah.
We were just a bunch of kids, struggling kids from all walks of life. And we formed a club. A gentleman by the name of Ernie Sims formed a club called the Carlton Juniors. Carlton Football Club helped us and raised money and gave us jumpers. And from there, I had my lucky break where the under-19s of Carlton, they had their scouts at one particular time, and they saw what they liked what they saw at one of the games, and tapped me on the shoulder and said, oh, would you like to join the under-19s? And then from there, I met Kuta.
Oh,
And the rest is history. So,
there you go.
there were struggles, but, it was very rewarding at the same time.
Yeah.
There you go. What was it like as a Collingwood supporter going into Carlton?
Yeah, good question. I changed, I'll be honest with you, I changed allegiance probably halfway through my AFL career.
Oh, really?
So both Cooter and I were Collingwood supporters up until
I
like
don't
halfway
wanna
through our
hear
careers. I'm not joking.
I do not want to hear this.
Well, a little
Yeah,
bird.
we
I
were.
don't believe it.
And
Yeah, we didn't love the club. We liked the club. I mean, we loved the club pre-Carlton.
yeah.
And then as soon as Carlton came, stepped in and started giving us some good money, and we're doing well for ourselves, we thought, I think we better change. We think we better go to Carlton.
Well,
Yeah.
on that, and a little birdie actually told me, I don't know if this is true or not, but can you confirm that apparently during one of your Carlton games, just casually playing a game of footy, you actually went up to one of the trainers and asked what the scores of the Collingwood game was because you were still
Correct. Oh, that was standard.
yeah.
Now, back in the day, on the scoreboard, back in the day, like in the early 90s, they used to have A, B, C, D, E, and F. So A was for Footscray, B was for Collingwood, C was for, St Kilda, E was for Melbourne. And I used to look at the record and go, okay, who's Collingwood playing today? It's A and B. So B's Collingwood. I'd have a look every quarter and go, oh my God, we're up. Oh my God, we're down.
What do you mean? You're a Carlton player, mate, and you support.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe this, Nick. What's happening?
But,
Will I be all of that?
Apparently,
look, come on. I'm forgiven.
Apparently, the
Don't
great,
worry, you're forgiven, but
apparently the great David Parkin, your coach, four-time premiership coach, the great David Parkin, terrific coach for the Blues and Hawks. He wasn't too happy with you when he heard the news that you were up for Collingwood scores. Can you listen about that, Ange?
What was that? Sorry, I missed it.
The Carlton coach at the time, David Parkin, he wasn't too happy about the news that you went and asked about the Collingwood scores.
Oh no, he wasn't. No, he was very upset about it. But like, as long as I paid my dues and did what I had to do, I did my job. Played well, and that's all that mattered. Like I mean, everyone has a little history of. I mean, not every player follows that particular club they're playing for, so you have to wear that.
So when
But
you
as long as I was doing well, getting the kick, defending, helping the team, it's all that mattered at the end of the day.
No doubt you're doing your job. But when you were playing against Collingwood, was there just a little mindset there saying maybe if I roll off this forward, he'll go kick a goal and we'll be up? Or
okay, here's a
beauty.
Here's a beauty for you. Actually, there's two. Now, back in '92 was my sixth game. I can't remember, and
So still fresh.
I walked into the rooms. I made the team. I made the top of the 22 at the time, or whatever it was, and I saw my name next to Brad Rowe. So I was on Brad Rowe, and next to Brad Rowe was Peter Dacos with Silvani. I thought, so I asked Silvani. I said, "Hey, Sos, do you want to swap?"
No.
He said, "There's no chance." He actually said, "There's no chance of you swapping because I know you love Peter Dacos." I said, "If you're ever in trouble, mate, I'm there. I'm here for you." And at one particular time during the game, it was the first quarter. I remember it at Waverley Park. It was just chaos. Look, there were 80,000 people. You couldn't even hear the siren. Anyway, I by mistake clipped Peter Dacos, and he gave me this dirty look, and I thought, "Oh no, I've just clipped my favourite, my star, my idol."
Hero. Yeah.
Not long after, he clips me back. Right, I hit the deck. I get up. I basically just brush off the grass of Waverley Park, and I said to myself, "God has just touched me." It was great. I was that elated. I was so happy. I was like, wow. And the second one was when he kicked a miraculous goal. He kicked a miraculous goal. I think it might have been the last quarter of the same game. I could have dived for it and touched it. But just something in my head said, don't touch it. Do not touch it. Let it go through. And you might possibly be in his top 10 reel of all-time great goals. And guess what? I was in one of the top 10. I was in the backdrop, and I was just knocking the head. Look, doing these.
He's not happy.
My whole life has been a lie.
He's not happy. He's not happy.
Go and see it. Have a look at his top 10, and one of them, there'll be one against Carlton, and I'm in the backdrop doing these ones, just nodding my head. But inside of me, I'm going, oh my God, I can't believe I just let that go. And Cooter, like after the game, goes, why didn't you touch it? You should have touched it. I said, no way, mate. I'm going to be I'm going to be in his backdrop, in his top 10, best goals of all time.
Wait until my dad's hear about this.
You covered this from us. Our fan actually asked us about the most influential player he played with.
Yeah, so
Played with.
Ange, the name Wolf was a name I was very familiar with, even though you were just before my time. That just goes to show how much of an iconic halfback flanker you were with that massive 67-meter drop punt off the halfback flank, especially in that 1995 year, your All-Australian year, potentially your best year. You guys won the grand final, obviously. We've got a couple. You played along the likes of, Kutafides, Peter Dean, Craig Bradley, Stephen Kernahan, Stephen Silvani, just to name a few, Greg Diesel-Williams. Out of that 95 team, who was the most influential player that contributed to the success of that team? If you had to pick one.
You obviously mentioned, a plethora of fantastic players. Yeah. Yeah. Top 10. There's one. There are quite a few out of the top 10 that were influential. One being Earl Spalding. For me, he was the unsung hero. He was like, the Rock of Gibraltar in the forward line. He'd break lines. He probably wouldn't get the ball as much as he would have liked, but he'd, break packs. He'd open up, he'd open up the game for everyone else like myself to move through and, hit targets. So he was one of the most influential, unsung heroes in 95.
There you go. That's a great pick.
Speaking of top players you played against, who are the top 3 best players you think you played against in your time, from other teams?
Well, okay. So I'll be honest with you, whoever's made the AFL cut in any way, shape, or form, like whether you played 1 game or 400 games, they're all great in my book, and in their right, they're all great. Like even if you played 1 game, I admire you. Right now, we're all fickle out there. A lot of supporters are fickle, and they're no good. He's no good. In my eyes, everyone's great. Yeah, you might have an odd bad game or 2, but in answering your question, I played on some great forwards. Obviously, I was a defender. Top of the, I'll go. Gee whiz. People normally ask, who's your toughest opponent? Now you're going to give me. I have to answer 3. Is that correct?
Okay, mate. 3 on the table, mate. Ian?
3. My God. Do you remember Chris Lewis?
Chris Lewis.
Dean Kemp, Chris Lewis from West Coast.
Dean Kemp, yeah.
Oh, Chris Lewis. Yeah, I know Chris Lewis, the Indigenous player. I know him now.
The Indigenous player?
Yeah.
Great. Now, I loved playing against the Indigenous players because you're on your feet all the time, yeah?
Of course,
you had to be grounded. You had to, just think like they would think because they just think left, off, centre. Exactly, they're agile. Yeah, they're instrumental. They're uncanny. Like you can't read them. Yeah. Yeah. And to me, the Indigenous players for me are the ones that I had to look. Had to play my game. Had to be on my game all the time. So it was Chris Lewis or Dean Kemp. Obviously, was an Indigenous player. There was Shea Cockatoo Collins. If you remember Shea Cockatoo Collins. There was another North Melbourne player, McAdam, another Indigenous player. Yeah. But the one that sticks to my mind is, again, they played for the team that I loved back in the day, Collingwood. It was the captain at the time, Gavin Brown. Do you remember Gavin Brown?
Gavin Brown, yes. Yeah, the father of Tyler Brown. And
correct. Yeah, for me, he was, again, tenacious. He was strong. He was fair, respectful, and tough. And that's what I love, and very competitive. And that's what I love. I love to compete with people that are very competitive. So he was on top of that tree.
It's a great call. Now, in that prestigious 95 year, the Blues finished on top of the ladder with 20 wins and 2 losses, followed by Geelong, who was in second spot with only 16 wins.
Yes.
What made that team so successful and so dominating in that 95 year?
We all know that 95 was, just an unbelievable year, to say the very least. apart from losing those two games consecutively and by huge margins.
Mhm.
Yeah, and people today speculate. Did you put money on it? Why would you lose to two bottom teams over 60 points per game? And I'm like, man, I don't have the answer. I really don't have the answer. They just must have played well. Like, on that day, on that given day, they did well. So, but beyond that, apart from those two games, we just picked ourselves up. We basically put the pieces back together, and with cohesion, with great game plans at the time. Like in the 90s, it was almost mid 90s. It was almost semi-professional. So things had changed. Within the club and the structure of things, and the way we played the game. And to add to that, we had great personnel, like you reeled off the other, 5 minutes ago with the top 8 team, the top 8 players there. But for me,
great.
It takes 22. It actually takes 44. You can even throw the reserves in because throughout that year we obviously didn't play with just those 22 players, did we? So I think we used mid 30, 36, 38 players. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But it was just a special year. We just bonded together. We gelled together. We just worked it out. We worked teams out. We crunched teams. They came back towards the end, like back in the two finals that we played. They were touch and go. And we could have lost them. And, for example, Kuda came to the rescue a couple of times and kicked a couple of quick, telling goals right at the end to save the game. So
Brisbane Bears. That was a close one, qualifying one.
Was there Richmond? Oh, no, North Melbourne. And North Melbourne, they were tough at the time.
That's right.
We beat the Lights, the G. And they were under light specialists on Friday night. And we topped them as well. So it just gelled, all the guys were with us at the time or for that year as well, bar those two losses.
So how confident were you?
And obviously, and just with the coaching staff as well. It didn't just take David Parkin. I mean, David Parkin's just the spokesperson. Yeah, it's also the coaches beneath him that did well.
Yeah,
the backline coach, mid coach, and the forward coach. Yeah.
Yeah. So how confident were you going into that grand final that you were going to pick up the cup?
Semi-confident. I mean, Geelong, they were up there as well. They had greats as well of the game, i.e. Ablett. And, there's a plethora of fantastic players at the time that were playing for Geelong. But 93 for me was an important year. The fact that we lost kind of helped me move forward and develop as a better player and a better person.
You were a rising star that year, weren't you?
Beg your pardon?
You were a rising star that year, weren't you?
93. Actually, I was a rising star. Yeah, been reading up on your stats. So 93 was, for me, I kind of established myself, and then, I was only 21 years of age, and, I made played in the grand final. I thought, oh my God, at 21, could you imagine? I'm only 21, I'll be playing in 10 grand finals. But they don't come often. Like, there are greats that don't even play finals football, let alone a grand final.
Yeah.
So we lost 93, and just the man looked at me and he was crying after the game on the ground, because we had to sit there and watch the ceremony. And I thought, oh my God. And I turned around to Justin. I said, why are you crying? He goes, mate, this could be it. We might not even play another final again. Yeah. I'm old, I'm over 30. And then when 95 came, I'm thinking, this guy's, he's ill. And then when 95 came, he goes, mate, here we are, cherish it, learn from your mistakes, and let's just nail these guys. And then when I found him, I hugged him and I thanked him for, his words of wisdom. So sometimes it just takes to lose a little, to suffer.
Yeah, I believe that too.
Yeah. And it hurts, and you want to win more. Like you just want to win.
Yeah,
of course.
After that, you just want to taste the success because you've had a taste of failure.
Yeah.
And all you want to do is win, and that we did. And then we could have been a dynasty. So like in '93 we lost the grand final. '94 two double chance, we lost both of them interstate. '95 we won. '96 double chance again we lost. 99, we lost the grand final. So
Melbourne,
potentially we could have been in 4 grand finals, 5 for grand
that
finals.
90 decade, we should have got a Hawthorn three-peat there, but that's all right.
We could have even a double. But yeah,
A double would have been nice.
No regrets.
17 would have been nice to be on top of Essendon.
Yeah, it would have been. But yeah, they say 95 is, one of the classed as one of the best years in 100 years. So I'm happy to have been a part of that.
Yeah,
it's great.
Well, 95 was a successful year. It was a happy year. I assume a lot of good memories from that year. But we'll talk a bit of the negative side of your career. So you did have to endure a serious back injury, which kept you out of the game for almost 2 years, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
That happened against the Swans in 97. And we just want to know, and arguably cut your career short, it took a lot of games off your career. I just want to know, what exactly was the injury? How did the injury occur? And also, how did you deal with the mental and physical battles that came along with it?
Oh, well, from memory, that was like 1997. I had a back injury. It was you can call it a debilitating back, a degenerative disc, a bulging disc. It was a combination of things. So I had bad posture. So it came from bad posture, heavy weights, and just a couple of big crunches in the game. And I remember 1 or 2 crunches that I copped. I thought, oh my God, my spine was just like out of whack. I thought, oh, I'm not going to survive. But for about 7 games, so 96, I had a fantastic preseason leading towards 97. And for the first, I can't remember, 7, 8 games, first 7, I was in agony. Like I was walking like an invalid pensioner. I don't even know how I actually, donned on that Guernsey and played. But I actually played 7 fantastic games before I remember it was against Fremantle, around 7, 8 or 9, I can't remember. I played on Clive Waterhouse, again, had this vivid memory. And he only kicked 2 goals and he was a live wire. He would always be kicking goals left, right, centre. And I'm like, before that game, I said to my fitness advisor, I said, oh, I can't walk. He goes, you can't just leave now. It's not like today's football where, you can have a late scratching and someone else can take your spot. It was like just before the siren, I said, just before I got onto the ground, I said, I can't play. He goes, mate, just tough it out. So I had Sudafeds, Panadols, blah, 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 getting manipulation on my back. I was gone, but I actually had not a bad game. Like, I only kicked 2 goals. That day, straight after the game, I took my jumper off. I threw it because you as you walk up the tunnel of the footy club into the rooms, on the right-hand side is the property steward. I take my jumper off. I threw it towards my property steward. I said, mate, Bulldog, you're not going to see me again. It's over. He's like, what do you mean? You had a great game. You played well. I go, no. I go, thank you, but my back's gone. Like, I just knew my body and it was over. Hence, 18 months of rehabilitation. I can't believe through adversity, I actually got back playing football. I never thought I'd play again, ever again.
Yeah.
Wow. Great effort. Great effort.
So, look, it was tough at the time, like mentally, yeah, it was,
it would have been.
It was not only excruciating pain, but yeah, mentally, it was mentally tough. Like the fact that I had great coaches, I had great, mentors, I had mum and dad, I had good friends and great support staff, great doctors that, that led me in the right direction, but it did take me 18 months.
Yeah.
But without their help and aid, I wouldn't have played the other 4 years. And for me, I was happier with my, like, if you'd said, what would you rather, like your premiership and, all Australian and playing for Victoria pre your injury, or the fact that you came back from injury, from the dead, yeah? Basically, I said I'd rather take that. I'd rather take how I came back as a person, as a player, and what I had to go through to get back to playing, 4 years of AFL. Okay, they weren't the best, but they weren't the worst, but they were like somewhere in the middle, yeah? So I did my job, everything was on merit. When I was playing, I basically played. If I was in the top 18 or 22, it was because I was playing well. So I don't think I got dropped once in the 4 years, or I can't even remember whether I did get dropped. I'm not too sure, but I was in the side on merit, and that to me, speaks volumes.
It does. It really does. And hats off to you
Yeah.
for that. Outstanding player and outstanding play for the Blues. So going on what you said before about you being being part of such a successful Carlton team, you were fortunate enough to be a part of such a successful Carlton decade in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But on that, what is your most heartbreaking loss and most bittersweet win during your career?
Okay. Most heartbreaking loss. Well, it'd have to be, 93, we'd lose in the grand final. But then again, I was only 21 and it didn't really sink in because I was just a young punk. I was a young punk. I was ready to go to the nightclubs and that was it was tough at the time, tough to swallow. Then just the double chances in 94, the double chances, at least to win one, we would have had a better chance. And then the double chances again in 96, they kind of hurt a bit, especially after winning in 95. What else? And probably my first loss as an AFL player, my first game. So that was when I was playing under 19s. As a 19-year-old, I ended up playing the last round of 1991. I remember David Cloak. Do you remember David Cloak from Richmond?
Yeah.
Okay, a legend, stalwart of the game. He kicks 8 goals. He gets he gets 3 Brownlow votes. I played the entire game. I kicked 1 goal, and broke my wrist, and I was shattered. But that sticks. That's the only game that really sticks. The one that I lost. I'm like, wow, it's my first game, and this guy, stole my, my thunder, stole my light. But I do remember it. That was, yeah.
And your most bittersweet win?
Oh, well, come on, mate. Well, there's a couple. I mean, there are a couple. Look, there's the one with where Christou, played like a superstar. Do you know when?
No, we went
1999 against Essendon. Come on.
Oh yeah, what
prelim.
was that?
1999. You guys weren't born. You weren't born again.
We were born, so can't blame us for not knowing. But I've seen the highlights. 99.
That was huge, and then also that was massive. That was to get into the grand final. Unfortunately,
that was the prelim. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so we lost that against.
We won by a point against. Yeah.
Against Collingwood, I loved. So after 95, so pre-95, it didn't bother. Again, hurts me to say this, but it didn't bother me. It didn't bother me whether we won or lost between 91 and 95. But 95 or 94 to 95. 95 and onwards, I actually despised Collingwood. So I loved playing against and winning against Collingwood.
That's great. That's great to hear.
Loved it. And obviously, top of the trees, 95. That was just
course. Can't go past 95.
Magnificent. Like I remember in 95, it was about the 18-minute mark. Now, just have this in your head. So you're a player. You're in a grand final. It's 80. You're 18 minutes in. You're 60 points up. Yeah. I turn around. This is how professional this club was, or this particular person was. I turned around to Peter Dean. I looked at him and I said, "Mate, we've bloody won the grand final. Oh my God." He's like, "No, we haven't. We haven't finished yet. Stick on him. It's not over." And I'm like, "Oh my God!" Like, shit. So he put me back, ground zero again. Yeah, man. And it came to about the 27th minute mark. He goes, "Now you can celebrate." I'm like, "Wow, man!" Like he goes, "Mate, don't ever." Look, we were up 10 goals, but he just didn't want me to. Just didn't want me to lose focus and stuff. So
because he's been through it all, playing through the 80s.
Man, to me, I thought, good on him. Peter Dean, he was the general. That's why it was called the general.
It was,
in the back line. So, and I learned so much from him. Yeah. So everyone was just grounded. There were no heroes. There was no ego. It was just footy. Do the job. Get the job done. Next.
So great.
If you kick the goal, next. If you won the battle, next. So I learned so much from Peter Dean, yeah.
Well, before we wrap up the interview, Ange, we're going to ask a bit about your heritage. So one of our fans, Peter Satori by the name, he's asked us, what is your favourite Greek food?
Favourite Greek food? Gee, there's quite a few. There's the souvlaki.
Yeah.
The homemade souvlaki, by the way.
Mhm.
There's the moussaka. There's gouvelaka. There's kokinisto with some Greek cheese. Come on, guys, do you know these? But there's
I'm Lebanese, Ange. I'm sorry I can't relate to this.
That's okay, mate. You're Greek deep down. You're Greek deep down.
Oh no, he's done me dirty.
Speaking of
No,
souvlaki, I actually want to know, so when you had the souvlaki shop back in the day, I want to know,
Yes.
there's a commercial with if you remember, with the monkey and Kuda, where
Oh, yes.
the monkey
Correct.
asked for a souvlaki.
You hungry? You want something to eat? I've got something for you. Here you go. Whoa! What? You want a souvlaki? Well, you'll have to impress me, monkey. Souvlaki up. You'll do anything to get one.
Now, I want to know, out of every way to advertise your food, I want to know, we date back to the time when it was made, who thought of getting a monkey to play an instrument and then get a souvlaki?
Mate, it wasn't my idea, but I kept telling everyone that I was the monkey.
Oh,
So I was behind the monkey suit. And people believe it. People actually believe it. So I actually played a great role.
Oh, man.
But it was rated worldwide as one of the worst commercials of all time. Did you know that?
really?
Actually,
Yes. I was in Greece. I was actually in Greece
didn't know that.
many years ago, and there was a segment on the worst commercials, and I couldn't believe it. I was just in Greece watching the telly, and there's Kudu and the monkey. I could
That's
not
hilarious.
believe what I was seeing.
Wow.
Well, thank you so much for joining the show, Ange. We really appreciate you coming on. Thanks so much for your time, and we wish you best of luck with your future endeavours. And stay safe during these times.
Thanks very much, Ange. Stay safe. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.